what are the ancient mysteries? What is a mystery school? What is this lineage? And why am I here to talk about it? And I'm really excited to share about the mystery schools and how an alchemy and what's happening in this world. So a mystery school, or an initiate of a mystery school, is someone that has been admitted into the teachings and practices of ancient spiritual traditions. So Egyptian mystery schools were dedicated to the deities of like Isis, Osiris, and Thoth, and were renowned for their profound spiritual teachings that encompassed all aspects of the divine and the universe and the self. But these initiations into these mystery schools involved a series of rites and ceremonies and tests designed to prepare the initiates, both spiritually and mentally. And these processes were meant to purify the individual, awaken their spiritual awareness, and align them with higher universal truths and principles. The initiate would learn sacred wisdom that was not available to the uninitiated public, including teachings on cosmology, spirituality, alchemy, magic, the afterlife. And so it was this, in ancient mystery schools, it was this like secret sect, this place where people went to be initiated into these greater teachings. Well, now we're walking into where a lot of these things are starting to become more open to the world, where we have lots of courses and different places where we can open into that. So becoming an initiate was a real significant commitment. It involved a lifelong dedication to personal transformation, spiritual growth, and often service to the community or the temple. People that you may have heard of that were initiates of these ancient mystery schools were people like Yeshua, known as Jesus Christ, Mary Magdalene, Mother Mary, Anna, who was the grandmother of Yeshua. They were part of these ancient mystery schools where they went and they were initiated into the mysteries of life, whether they went to India to learn this. There was a mystery schools in India. There were mystery schools in Egypt. They were all over in different parts of the world. And they went there to in Greece. And then there were centers for spiritual and esoteric learning. Teachings of these schools were kept secret and were usually hidden. But the idea was that we wanted to use this knowledge to then transform ourselves and be able to help with that inner transformation to then go and do greater work. So spiritual development and inner transformation was the central theme. And, that was obviously the emphasis on personal growth and self-awareness and enlightenment. Initiates were often taught things like meditation and prayer and other practices to help them connect with the divine and understand deeper aspects of their being. That also included things like esoteric knowledge and cosmology. So the schools often taught the nature of the universe, right? Spiritual realms, and interconnectedness between the physical and the spiritual world. And this included teachings on astrology, alchemy, and the nature of the soul. It also included significant mystical practices and rituals, where these included initiation ceremonies, sacred geometry, symbolic practices. And then there was a lot of philosophy that went with that, right? The moral and philosophical understanding of how to live in alignment with these spiritual values. And so translating that into the modern mystery school, which there's several mystery schools out there. I follow a lot of them. So it's about emphasizing this self-discovery, the healing, the realization of one's potential, including these things like meditation, energy healing, conscious exploration. Integration of modern schools are integrating quantum physics, neuroscience, and the science and spirituality together, right? Reflecting what we now know to be true into these ancient mysteries. And then it's also about community and global healing. A lot of the contemporary mystery schools are also focusing on humanitarian work, collective consciousness, aiming to bring about positive changes in the world, and how we can use these diverse spiritual traditions, right, and go out and change the world. That we are in the midst of one of the greatest challenging, but also greatest times in our existence. We are here to be called into this work and into this healing. The key is, when we want to work in the world and sharing in the world, the key for ourselves is the alchemy within ourselves. When we talk about yoga or soul alchemy or the alchemy of things, we are talking about the inner union within ourselves, the sacred marriage within our own, activating our own spiritual life force, awakening our hearts, allowing our own fiery kundalini life force energies to brought up into our higher spiritual centers, to awaken our inner insight. This allows us to experience powerful states of oneness, And in this communion within ourselves, we dissolve our egos and we gain a glimpse of our true natures and experience this universal consciousness. How do we bring these spiritual energies together in order to commune with the divine and then take this sacred formula, right, and go out and change the world? Because for me, it is go out and share it with the world, whether it's in a state of being or in experiencing, but it's more than just I am here now to do this inner work, but it is how does this inner work then translate into the shifting of our lives and into the shifting of the way of these things. And so through the mysteries of Isis and Hathor and the Essenes, Mary Magdalene and Ushaya and Mother Mary, we start to understand that there's a lineage that comes down all the way from the stars and the planets into this realm of where we live right now and what we're creating in this world. And so we want to start to harness that energy within ourselves. The path of the initiate is one that follows not only the cycles of this inner knowing and creating a union between the masculine and the feminine within. But once you have that masculine and feminine united within, it then turns into how would that show up in the world? Calling in sacred partnership, having a purpose in the world where you're going out and doing these things, living within the seasons. And so one of the things that we're creating with the mysteries, I'm going to be diving deep into working with the nature and the seasons and every moon, understanding the cosmology and the astrology, right? The new moon and the full moon, and understanding the equinoxes and how we work with them and how we use the energy of the world and the earth to alchemize within ourselves. So when we start to work with our light bodies, it's not just some theoretical things that literally it has been proven in that the multidimensional aspect of our DNA, that 90% of our DNA that's supposedly junk DNA, is part of the receptors where light is, and our multidimensional selves is being the receptor that we then become. Literally, it is light photons that connect into your DNA that then translate into your body. And so we have light coming straight in from source, from these places into it. And so between sacred that we have both in our body and within our own DNA and light, we are made up of these structures that are the alignment of who we are. And we can learn how to harness the energy of our light bodies. And I want to learn, how do we work with the MEbA, our energy fields, our real system? How do we literally turn our central channel, that channel of light, so that we become the energy of the field and work with this light body so that we can heal and pull in the energies of the galactics and the stars and all of the places that we come from? Because right now, ancient technologies, which are new technologies, things that have been lost for thousands and thousands of years and millennia, that are being downloaded back into our system. So how do we open up our body to the light codes that are coming in from the sun, the Sirius sun, from the lineages? How do we open up to that so that we can actually heal and live our purpose? How many of you would want to and would be able to open up to new information and learn how to download and have telepathy and be able to remote view and be able to see? According to the alchemists of ancient Egypt, we possess these two bodies, and this is where the mystery schools came in. And Newtonian and quantum physics says the same thing. We have two, right? We have the physical and we have the energetic and the light body. And we want to be able to harness both of those. The key with what we're teaching in the mystery school, quantum entanglement, right? They took two protons, they quantum entangled them, and then they saw that what did it create? The yin yang symbol. It was literally the yin yang, as above, so below. We're understanding that these two things, all things are coming back to this sacred union, the sacred marriage. So the sacred union, the sacred marriage is masculine and feminine, physical and spiritual, above, below, right? All of these, light, physical, how quantum physics, Newtonian physics, how do we combine all of this together to literally shift into a new experience, heal and live our purpose? How many of you would want to be able to open up to new information and learn how to download and have telepathy and be able to remote view and be able to see, to really step in so that you could use this to heal your life in a different way, or your body, or a physical issue, create abundance, and then step into deeper understanding of that truth and share it with the world? The key to that is getting that yourself into this alignment and really shifting that. So according to the alchemists of ancient Egypt, we possess these two bodies, and this is where the mystery schools came in. And Newtonian and quantum physics says the same thing. We have two, right? We have the physical and we have the energetic and the light body. And so we want to be able to harness both of those. The key with what we're teaching in the mystery school and what's coming down is how do I take the yin yang energy, quantum entanglement, right? They took two protons, they quantum entangled them, and then they saw them create the yin yang symbol. It was literally the yin yang, as above, so below. We're understanding that these two things, all things are coming back to this sacred union, the sacred marriage. So the sacred union, the sacred marriage is masculine and feminine, physical and spiritual, above, below, all of these, light, physical, how quantum physics, Newtonian physics, how do we combine all of this together to literally shift into a new experience? So this goes beyond the law of attraction and raising your vibration. We're literally talking about the law of light and understanding how light works in your system. So we're at a place in the jump of humanity where we are ready for the next information. We are ready for the quantum codes. We are ready for sacred geometry and for how these things shift in your body. We are ready for light, really understanding how this works in our energy systems. We want to become the rainbow frequency. We want to become the frequency of the shift that is happening in the world today. And we do that through our energy systems and the 12 chakra system. So how many of you have always heard when you go to like yoga or you go to somewhere and they do ohms, right? We go om, we have that. And then we hear that we're supposed to say the I am frequency, right? I am light, I am God. Well, the thing is like the om is attached to one specific chakra. I am is attached to a specific chakra, but there are so many other pieces to this frequency of wholeness that we want to create. Let's do it in the aspect of talking about chakras and frequencies and how pulling these lights in together start to align us. So if I say I am, let's do it around abundance, right? So the I am is a root chakra piece. So if you were to use it in your root chakra, you would say, I am wealthy. I am wealthy. But if we move that up into our next chakra, the next chakra is the sacral chakra. A sacral chakra is I feel. So if we're always saying I am wealthy, but we are not feeling it, I feel abundance everywhere, I feel wealth, then you're missing out on the next piece. Then we move up into the next chakra, into the solar plexus. The solar plexus is the I do. So if we're talking about wealth, then it's the action of doing something to attract the wealth. So I attract wealth easily. It's a attraction. I do things that attract wealth easily. So then we go up into the heart. The heart is I love. I love opulence and wealth. I love abundance. The throat chakra is speak. I speak. I speak wealth into existence. I speak wealth into existence. Here, the third eye is the I see. I see wealth and abundance all around me. And then here, the crown is I understand. I understand wealth is easy to attract. Do we see how if we're only ever using one way that we're missing all of the alignment that goes with that? So each of our has a geometric symbol. It has a frequency. It has a word intonation. It has a mantra that goes with it. It has a movement that goes with it. And it connects into your DNA in a certain way to create your rainbow field around your system. So these are all things that when we dive into the initiations, you start to understand how could we work with these energy centers together to create this layering on of the experience of pulling these things together. We've been living in a very 3D world where we've been taught the way of manifestation, the way of creation is I do this thing, but we've been left out the pieces to it. We've been left out the full body experience in that. In 2021, I went to Egypt. It was during COVID, right? So not a lot of people were traveling at the time. I spent a month in Egypt in April of 2021, and it was life-changing for me. I was initiated in several different places in Egypt. And before this, I knew I had a connection to Egypt. And I knew I had some deeper connections to what was going on, but I didn't really understand it. And so I went first into the pyramids at Giza. Now, in 2021, the 14 million people a year go to Giza Plateau. You go through this tiny little passage like this, and you've got to crawl up, and you got to crawl up to get into the center, into the main center of the pyramid. And I saw the sarcophagus, and I was deeply drawn to the sarcophagus. And I was like, I have to lay in this sarcophagus. But I had felt like I had been there before. Like I felt this like deep initiation into this space. And I got permission from the gentleman that was the guard that was inside there, laid in there. When I laid down, they say it's an ascension chamber, and that once you lay in the sarcophagus, you will never be the same, that you get downloaded within. I laid in it. And I felt this absolute just jolt of energy through my whole body. And I felt like grounded, and I felt like I was pulled into the earth like this. And I was like, whoof. And I started to breathe, and I was like, and I was like, oh my God, what just happened? And it was amazing. And it was incredible. And I felt this like shift in my system. And then I got up and I got out. And then from there, about 3 or 4 days later, we went down to Luxor, to the temples in Luxor, and we had private access to parts of the temple that they didn't let the public into. They were gated off and bolted because they still had the color on them, where the hieroglyphs and the paintings and everything were in there, and they were still full of color. And so they didn't want the general public to get in there because they wanted it to stay in this pristine area. But it's the strangest thing. So these two gentlemen in robes come and they grab me and they say, come with me. And I was like, I'm okay, I'm coming. I don't know. And they took me into another room that was locked, and they took me in and they locked it from the inside. And they started speaking in a language that I did not understand with my English ears from this lifetime, but I felt it in my body. And they started doing rituals on me and praying over me as I'm standing in this room. And the women that I was with, they tried to come get in the room. They were like knocking on the door, and they said, no. They're like, put their hands up. They said, this is only for her. And again, I had these this incredible initiation and this experience that happened. And then from there, I was taken in and got to have a private session with Sekhmet, which is the statue that's been over 2,000 years old. I was taken into a room. I got to commune with Sekhmet. I put my hand on her. And at that time, she took this staff, and I felt it come into my system. And the staff, the base of it went right into the base of my spine, right at my root chakra. And the top of the staff, the spear, right went into my pineal gland. Now look at the top of the staffs. They're very much similar to the shape of a pineal gland. And when I saw it, I had this blue sapphire light just like this in my head. And I was like, oh, wow. And I was like, this is amazing. But I didn't know what it was. But all of a sudden, within days, I had healing abilities that I was able to do, that I was using with my clients, that I had never had before. Things were happening. And then and in that moment, I was transported back to my 40th birthday in Bali and Tanalot. And that was the day that I had felt the world shift. I was in Tanalot on my 40th birthday, and the whole world shifted around me. And I felt this visceral shift. And I was handed a staff. But I didn't know. Prior 2017 was my 40th birthday. So this is 4 years later. I handed this staff, and I was like, what do I do with this staff? And I was like, I don't know what to do with this staff. And it wasn't until I was in Egypt and I saw it set in my body, the opening happened, and that I knew that I had opened to these gifts. Every one of you has a lineage. You all have a lineage. Obviously, that's why you've been called here right now. You have a lineage of some sort from the stars, families that have called you here to open up to the mysteries, to open up to what's happening, so that you can download the light codes into the system.